Doma Sports Talk worldwide with some news from the world of boxing, so y'all know what time it is. You ain't in a rush to get concussed. Now, damn, I should have had on my I told you stuff on. When it comes to the big fight on the weekend, well, there's a couple of them, but big fight between in the lightweight division, Devin Haney versus Jojo Diaz. That's going to be a big fight. I think it's the bigger fight. You still have Gervonta Tank Davis fighting Isaac Cruz, which is also a pretty big fight in the lightweight division. But you're talking about one is just because the guy's big. You know, he's starting to become a pay-per-view star. He's Floyd Mayweather's protege, which actually both of these guys are. But Gervonta Tank Davis has a better pay-per-view thing going on, probably. But in terms of significance, then you would have to go with Devin Haney, Jojo Diaz, because the winner should be fighting George Kambosos, who just beat Teofimo Lopez last week for undisputed, if things were normal. But like I've told you before, over and over, that the boxing world does not want Devin Haney, right? The mainstream people and everybody, most people involved, do not want Devin Haney to become the lightweight champion. They've already showed us that in the whole Teofimo Lopez versus Devin Haney ordeal, or Ryan Garcia being his mandatory, not having to fight him, but still in talks to be able to fight other people, even though he's been out, right? Which I probably will get to. The point is, Devin Haney getting the undisputed championship would mean that all of these other people that they love to talk about would have to see him. Now, Devin Haney is not depriving us of any big fights, right? None. If it comes to Devin Haney and Lomachenko didn't want to fight. Lomachenko is the reason we have this stuff with the franchise title, which I'll get to in a second. Lomachenko asked for that. Teofimo Lopez could have fought this guy for undisputed and didn't do it, right? Went with the narrative of he's undisputed, even though he's not. Ryan Garcia was his mandatory, didn't want to fight him. Jojo Diaz was his mandatory, did not want to fight him, right? But now he's going to, because there's no other option out there, because Ryan Garcia fell through. Now, Devin Haney, we're talking about the Jojo Diaz fight, which I have already, so I can talk about this. I don't think Devin Haney should be talking past Jojo Diaz, but I will. And I was saying that George Kambosos, everyone was saying that he's talking good like he really would fight Devin Haney. And I was saying George Kambosos beat Teofimo Lopez. Before that fight, directly after, yeah, he's going to be talking undisputed with Devin Haney. But the narrative is going to change, and he's probably going to change. And I was saying is the glass is half empty, because I'm a pessimist when it comes to this. I was saying that exactly because they get the talk that I always talk about. Right? George Kambosos, right as we speak, is being told you're undisputed anyway, even though the franchise title was out there, and we don't know what the hell it is. You're undisputed anyway. Hey, you don't have to fight Devin Haney, right? It's not that important. Starting other fights is just starting to creep up, and I've said the media, America, for example, they would want it to be Lomachenko. If Lomachenko fights Kambosos, that would be their wish. Because it doesn't matter who wins, but there ain't going to be no brother first. And if Lomachenko wins, you think they calling Teofimo Lopez undisputed or George Kambosos undisputed? Let Lomachenko beat Kambosos or get that fight, which they're going to be pushing for. I told you that. They're going to start pushing for that. When they get that fight, if he beats him, then he's definitely undisputed. The WBC, the real WBC championship will never mean nothing again until Devin Haney some kind of way goes up to 140 or something, and then all of a sudden it'll get important again. This is how blatant this is becoming, right? So like right now, George Kambosos, no matter where he looks, if it's social media, no matter if it's manager talking, getting calls, or wherever he's getting interviews, that everyone is probably not telling him that Devin Haney is not important. I've seen a little interview where he's talking, George Kambosos right now, he's talking about how Devin Haney does against Jojo Diaz. Like, would determine the fight. Now, he says, Haney, it would have to be, would have to fight. I don't want to see no running around and stuff like that. Like, who are you to judge how Devin Haney fights, right? And, he barely beat Teofimo Lopez. Now, he's saying how Devin Haney has to fight. You hear this with brothers all the time. Now all of a sudden, Devin Haney has to fight a certain way, right? If he comes out of that ring with undisputed, that's what George Kambosos should be focusing on, just undisputed. But no, how he fights. But then, right, he'll say, well, there's other fights out there, and then he start talking about Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia is not fighting at all, right? He's turned down fights and is in depression right now, and has turned down fights, and he's not shouldn't be relevant at all. Ryan Garcia should be 2 fights minimum away from a championship fight. 1 comeback fight to make sure that you're back, have a training camp without depression, then a hard fight to see if he will really take the fight, and you know, not cancel the fight, just like he did with Javier Fortuna or Jojo Diaz. Right? Both of the fights called off. And then after he takes a hard fight, then maybe, then, in his 3rd fight back, a championship fight. Why would he be able to bridge? And then we could say, well, you know, with the one with the championship, Devin Haney, who just probably had beat Jojo Diaz, for example, and even in a close fight, right? Why can't Devin Haney have a close fight? Why can't he? Kambosos just had a close fight. Teofimo Lopez's fight against Lomachenko was close. Brothers always got to have some extra. Demetrius Andrade better do something extra against all these people. Right? Everybody, you know what? Ain't no extra. I got the title and I'm a champion. Right? And I just won. And you can be undisputed beating me. That should be enough. Right? And you're going to get a lot of money doing it. Those are the real factors. But the bottom line is this. We are not trying to let Devin Haney. They've been doing it from the beginning. And here's another reason why. Devin Haney does not want the franchise title. He's like, whatever I don't want that title. Which, that's what I'm talking about. That's just so many plus points. That's just so awesome. Like, I don't want that, because that belt is what's confused everyone. Right? Because it wasn't a belt at the beginning. It was just, you know, some kind of recognition that the WBC was trying to give Canelo. And then they, you know, Lomachenko asked for it instead of fighting Devin Haney. But, you know, that's what they should focus on when they talk about it. The confusion started with Canelo and then Lomachenko. It's not Devin Haney, not anybody else. But these people accepting it. I remember Deontay Wilder was like, I don't want that stuff. That makes no sense. Why would you want to be a champion and fight the mandatories? I don't want a belt that's telling me that I don't have to fight mandatories. I like fighting mandatories. That means no shenanigans. That's what I'm talking about. Devin Haney, if he wins the undisputed, he doesn't want that franchise title because it just, you know, disturbs. Get out of the way. I don't want to not fight people. Give that to people who don't want to fight hard fights. But Devin Haney don't want no part of it. Don't you like things like that? Or maybe some of you probably don't. Right? Listen. The way boxing is going right now is so blatant. You know, listen, Canelo Alvarez, when he turned down $40 million to fight Demetrius Andrade for undisputed, $40 million for undisputed in the middleweight division, which would have been a huge deal. Turning down that should have been international major news, headline news, especially boxing news. It doesn't get them. We're being deprived of a undisputed fight at the middleweight division, and the main protagonist, Canelo Alvarez, is turning down that much money just not to fight Demetrius Andrade. But they don't want to make that headlines, because if you made it headline news, then people are realizing who Demetrius Andrade is and why, right? And then, you know, then even people that, you know, when it's headline news and it's mainstream news, then you wanting Canelo to fight a Yildirim instead of a Demetrius Andrade for undisputed, then your despicableness is on the forefront. And you can't hide it anymore. Because then you would have to say, well, Canelo, Demetrius Andrade, who has he fought? Well, Yildirim, it doesn't matter who he fought. Demetrius Andrade is undisputed fight. Doesn't matter what Yildirim fight is. Right? And you say it right after each other, and the whole world knows, then you're being despicable, and the whole world knows, and you're not an underground despicable person. Right? But anyway, this is just boxing, how it's been going on. It's obvious. Kambosos has changed his tune a little bit. Like I said, I'm not expecting anything different. Why do I get things right? Because I know that the motivation is always the same. And when the motivation is the same, it's the despicable thing that they're doing with these brother fighters, right? America has a whole bunch of top class fighters. If we had to send a fighter for every weight division, just, leave out the minimum weight to straw, right? Start at lightweight and go all the way up, and you would send an American, right? You have all of these incredible fighters, right? But because they're not white, we're ignoring them. And we're actively ignoring them because they can possibly be superstars. If we let Devin Haney, he would probably rule the lightweight division and be undisputed, but we can't let it. And the same went for Demetrius Andrade when Canelo was there. Now Canelo's somewhere else. Now David Benavidez is not getting a shot. Not getting a shot to show that he could be the best 168-pounder, or David Morrell, for that matter. In any division. Right? Any division, there's someone there that can prove it, but we're stopping them from doing so. Right? And that has to just stop, or you have to continue to put pressure when you're there, when you're interviewing them. There's no other questions other than why we keep saying when Devin Haney gets close to undisputed that we're, glorifying anyone else. And then we're just making sure that they just don't fight this man. Right? And this weekend, there's a lot of people that want him to lose to Jojo Diaz. And then a lot of people, it doesn't matter how he wins to Jojo Diaz. After that fight, it's going to get worse with Devin Haney bashing, with Devin Haney versus George Kambosos not being an important fight. Because make sure it's clear, Devin Haney just said, if I win up against Jojo Diaz, yes, I'll go to Australia and we can do whatever you want. You got the belts now, I have to go there and get them. So that's not an issue. Money's not an issue. So the only thing is the issue is we ain't letting Devin Haney be no damn undisputed lightweight champion. If we did, then we got a problem hyping Lomachenko because then he has to fight him. We got a problem hyping Teofimo Lopez because he's got to fight him. We got a problem hyping Ryan Garcia because he got to fight him now. And we can't get around it no more. Gervonta Davis is the same thing, but Gervonta keeps switching divisions. He's doing a Canelo over here, switching divisions. So I don't know what he want to do at all. Right, but if people gonna keep paying for him to keep fighting whoever, just like Mario Barrios, went up to 140, but you didn't fight Josh Taylor or Prograis, right? It's the same thing. That's what Canelo was up to, right? So but if you get away with that, that's your thing. So he can't be in the conversation as the best lightweight then, right? He just be a good fighter, pay-per-view, and all that. That's good. But the best lightweight is the one who's going to try to be undisputed, whoever the hell it is. But I think everybody should have an opportunity. If Devin Haney has the lightweight title, then give let's get this out of the way. And the WBC should be trying to solve this too. But they don't want to either, right? They too busy telling Canelo that he can do whatever the hell he wants in boxing. But anyway, the rant's over. You know what I'm saying? Y'all check it out. Kambosos has changed his tune, and Haney don't want no damn franchise belt. Like no one should at all anyway. Doma Sports Talk Worldwide. And I'm up out of here, y'all.